Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Terri Cole Show. I am so psyched that you are here. I want to start by asking you a question. Do you find that in your romantic relationships in particular, that you are the giver? And if that is true, do you find that you attract takers? If you're nodding your head, then this episode is for you. Because in this episode, I'm going to be talking about narcissists, codependents, and bad boundaries that exist between them. So, if you're new to my channel, hey, welcome. I'm so psyched that you're here. Please introduce yourself below in the comments. If you haven't already, hit the bell, subscribe. Want to make sure that you don't miss anything. As soon as something new comes out, you will get notified. And if you don't know me, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert, and the author of Boundary Boss, which you can get right now at boundarybossbook.com. And I also want to just say thank you so much for all of your questions and all of your comments. I love to highlight them. And today I'm highlighting one from Susan Elevend. Dear Terri, thank you so much for your generosity sharing your knowledge on YouTube. I just bought your book. You are so important for me. You make me feel safe. And I grow up and develop and learn so much with your insight. I wish you a wonderful day from Amsterdam. Why, thank you, Susan. I am really happy that you are here. Before we get started, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you hit that bell so that you don't miss anything. And also, if you like the episode, give it a thumbs up, would you? I would really appreciate that. Now, on to today's content. So let's first establish what are codependent behaviors? If you're unsure. If you're a codependent, you probably already know, but you may feel responsible for solving other people's problems. You feel used and unappreciated for all that you do often, offering advice and fixing things for others, even when they don't ask you to, expecting others to do what you say. So if you do give that advice, you might get angry or frustrated if someone doesn't take the advice, even if they didn't ask you for it. As a codependent, there can be a tendency to take things really personally, right? As if the other person's actions, or even the world at large, are really like happening to you, not just happening. Feeling like a victim, feeling unempowered, trying to please others to obtain love, acceptance, really fearing rejection. If you're a codependent, feeling or being afraid that you might be unlovable, and that you have to sort of be of service for others to want to be in a relationship with you. Like you need to earn your keep, so to speak. You also, codependency really is a covert or an overt bid for control, right? We don't want our friend to make that mistake. But it's not for us to say. But when you're codependent, it really does feel like it's your problem. And also, we have a tendency to make up excuses for other people's crappy behavior. So we don't have to have a conversation about it or a confrontation about it. Yeah, so that's a little encapsulation of codependent behavior. Now let's talk about some narcissistic behavior, shall we? Using manipulation is a narcissist, one of their greatest tools in their tool belts. Everything is really about them and what suits them. So really in relationship, they kind of see you as an extension of them, right? All for the purpose of what it is that they want. There's a lot of negative emotions with a narcissist. They're stirring the pot often. They enjoy kind of stirring the pot. Makes them feel powerful, gives them attention. Having a grandiose personality. Now, this is the more obvious thing that when we think about a narcissist, we're like, oh, right, big and bold. Not all of them, but having a grandiosity about themselves, right? They think that others, they're so important that others shouldn't be able to live without them, basically. But also grandiose and could be bragging about what they're doing or the great things that they have. They feel entitled. A lot of times narcissists truly believe that they are actually above the law. And this can show up in weird ways like stealing supplies from the office, just feeling like the office owes them that. And they're really good at sort of manipulating the facts so that they're really never in the wrong. A lot of times, and we don't talk about this that much, but it's true, narcissists are super charming. They can be incredibly charismatic and persuasive. You know, there's a lot of energy coming out of a narcissist most of the time, and it can be very compelling. They also are a boundary violator, right? They don't want you to have your boundaries. They don't want you to be independent of them. They don't really have the capacity to care about how you're feeling. If someone is a tried and true actual narcissist, like has narcissistic personality disorder, they can't. So they're trampling boundaries, but not really understanding how that would be impacting you. Could be physical boundaries. They also don't fulfill their obligations, right? They break promises, because a lot of times they'll make big promises to get you to do what they want in the moment, but then they don't necessarily follow through with that. Projecting this massively false self, an image of the false self. They care a lot what other people think. I remember hearing someone once who I knew in my mind was a narcissist saying on the phone, "Did you tell them who I am though? Do they know who I am?" Like trying to get preferential treatment and feeling like they are entitled to preferential treatment. Also, bad listeners, right? Interrupters, because if you're talking about something that is important to you, they will quickly interrupt and sort of refocus that conversation right back on themselves. Social norms are really not for them. Those rules, according to most narcissists, they're for other people, but they are above the rules in their own mind. And they do love to talk about themselves. Now, it depends on what level of narcissism, what kind, because there's some that are more toxic than others. All of it is unhealthy, but there's lots of other things involved there. But I wanted us just to be on the same page of having sort of a working understanding of codependency and of narcissism. So why is there so much attraction between these two? Well, think about it. A codependent is someone who is perennially giving, and a narcissist is someone who is perennially taking. So in a way, they're like the perfect dance partners, because the codependent can't wait to fulfill your needs until they become angry about it. Because when you're a codependent, it can only be for so long that you can get your worth through the overgiving, anticipating the other person's needs, wants, desires, walking on eggshells. There is a point where you really want to be seen, and you're not going to be in a relationship with a narcissist. And you may still stay, because these are very difficult relationships to break away from, for sure. But being an overgiver, it's ingrained. If you are the person who's overgiving, it's ingrained to do that, to be a part of someone else's solution, right? This is it's natural. And wanting the other person to do it for you is also natural. But you don't have that expectation, especially in the beginning, because this is how, as a codependent, a lot of times we're getting our worth by solving the problems. And also in the beginning with the narcissist, there is the love bombing, and there's these other manipulation tactics that a narcissist will use on a codependent and others that will securely get us in their web. So love bombing, if you don't know what it is, I think probably many of you are familiar with the term, but it means where the person is just, everything is amazing. So if you're in a relationship and it started fast and furious, and the person is like, wow, we're soulmates, you're my twin flame, let's go on vacation together, and 4 months from now, like making plans, saying how amazing you are, how beautiful you are, how no one could understand them. This is one of the real lines with narcissists and codependents. that they're so hard to understand and they're so complex or they're so elevated in their intelligence that they're complimenting you by being like, you're so amazing because you get me, because you understand me. So it's sort of, they're bringing you sort of into the narcissism by saying how special you are. But that once you're solidly in there, there will be a turn, right? Because if there wasn't, if the person stayed loving and amazing and thinking you were amazing, then they wouldn't be a narcissist. But there's always a turn where you do something. You try to set a boundary. You set a limit. You tell them what your preference is about something. And that thing, I don't know exactly what it is because everyone is different, but that becomes the thing that now you fall from grace. Now you are no longer the chosen one, the important one that can't believe how disloyal you are, how self-centered you are, how mean you are. I mean, it can be really extreme, and it's so painful and it's so shocking when you go from the love bombing experience to the first time that they're going to devalue you, that you can sort of be in shock. And if you're a codependent, you're also not great at confrontation. It's not like your favorite thing. You want to avoid it. So this is how the cycle begins, right? The narcissist is definitely the leader in the relationship, charming, bold, domineering. The codependent, while they try to control things sort of under the surface, right? Because what you're really trying to do eventually is avoid a blow up. You want to avoid their disapproval or their displeasure. But you're really both, you're mesmerized with what you're doing because you're playing out these unresolved injuries from childhood, both in this relationship. And it's like, it's so hard to leave, but you really want the pain of the relationship to stop eventually, right? This is what it eventually gets to when we're really talking about narcissists and codependents. So boundaries, bad boundaries, are basically the name of the game in this kind of a relationship. You have no right as the codependent in this relationship to have boundaries. And yet it is your job to establish boundaries. So how do we avoid getting into these relationships? Asserting yourself early in a relationship in a very normal and neutral way is one way that you can see the way the other person is going to respond. And this is why being really quiet and just accepting everything that's happening or what the other person is sort of serving up for you, basically, that doesn't work because this is how we get caught in these relationships. So having early conversations about what you like and how you feel, questioning them on something. You might be talking about something, politics, anything, and saying, well, why do you feel that way? Or what do you think? Or I disagree. And see how they react. Because someone who is simply self-centered, perhaps, is not going to react the way a narcissist would react. They may not like it, but it won't be like a shock and awe reaction of trying to just shut you down and make you wrong and make you regret it. I mean, one of the special skills of a narcissist is somehow, when you go to talk to them about a problem you have with them, you walk away and you are apologizing. You're like, how did this happen again? There are so many manipulation tactics that are very clever. Gaslighting is another one, where if you can establish boundaries early, you will not fall victim to that manipulation tactic. So you have to be proactive. If you know you're codependent, and if you've had this experience before, the most important part of this is to bring that awareness. What did you learn about yourself and about that experience? Bring that awareness into the next relationship. And then early and often, I want you to put up a boundary. You can do it gently, you can do it lovingly, you can do it with kindness, but set a limit. Express your preference, because this will reveal whether the narcissist wants to reveal it or not. Really early on, they're very clever at playing the game. But as you're getting into the relationship, there will be a point where they will not be able to contain their reaction to the nerve that you have of establishing a boundary. So if you don't want to get caught in this situation, especially if you've been in one, or if you know you're a codependent, you could be very vulnerable to falling into a relationship with a narcissist, which will be extremely painful and literally only ends badly. That there's no way for it to not end in a crap ton of pain for you, which of course is why I'm doing this episode, and I don't want that for you, obviously, because you don't deserve it, and yet it's really hard to get out of once you're in. So, what did we establish? Boundaries, early and often, will give you the absolute best shot of establishing whether someone is a narcissist or has this dysfunction because of how they react to it. But it also will show you how they respond to conflict, whether they're a narcissist or not. If someone says they're going to call you on a Friday and then they don't, and then they text you on Monday and say, "What's up?" You can either collude with their non-reality, that they didn't say it, or you can say, "What's up is, I thought you were going to call me on Friday. I was wondering if you got abducted by aliens." Smiley face. Like, you can be light about it, but I am begging you, do not let it go. Because we have to expect people to keep their word if you're someone who keeps your word. And early and often. I know so many of my clients have been like, "I don't want to say anything. I feel like I'm being a nag. I feel like I'm being this. I feel like I'm being that." I'm like, listen, not saying anything is just setting yourself up for more of the same of what you just experienced. Is that what you want? And I think we can all agree the answer is no. That is not what you want. So, if you are interested in learning more about boundaries, how to become a boundary boss, my Boundary Bootcamp course is coming up. It is an 8-week course, and it will teach you all the things that you need to know about setting boundaries with all the people, including narcissists. And you can get all that info at terricole.com/BB2021. I would love to see you on the inside. And in the meantime, I hope that this episode added value to your life. If you liked it, please share it on your social media platforms. Drop me comments because you know I'm so interested in what you think. And as always, take care of you.